Here's another example of a higher degree polynomial equation. And let's see if we can do the same thing with this one that we did in the previous video. Let's see if this trinomial is factorable just as it is. It's a trinomial. If it factors, it's going to factor into two binomials. The way to get a minus is you've got to have a minus times a plus, right? You've got to have one subtraction binomial, one addition binomial. How could you get x to the sixth? Well, there are a lot of different ways. X to the second times x to the fourth would be x to the sixth. X to the third times x to the third would be x to the sixth. Oh, I have x to the third in this term. Perhaps that's the one that I want to try. And then how can I make an 8? Well, either a 2 and a 4, or a 1 and an 8. And a 1 and an 8 could make a 7, couldn't it? And since I want minus 7, I'll put the minus with the 8 and the 1 with the plus. So that will give me minus 8 for the LOFOIL. It would give me plus 1x cubed and minus 8x cubed, which would combine to minus 7x cubed. So this indeed is the factorization of that original trinomial. Now, each of these quantities, I need to check them to see how I can make 0. What value of x would make each of those quantities 0? Because if one of these quantities is 0, 0 times anything makes 0, that would be a solution. So I set each of these factors equal to 0 and solve those equations to see what value of x would make those quantities become 0. So if I have x cubed equals 8, I'm not using the square root property, but I'm using something similar. What number can I cube that makes 8? Or another way to view it, if you took the cube root of both sides. If we take the cube root of both sides, we get x equals 2. The cube root of x to the third is x. The cube root of 8 is 2. So if x is 2, it solves the original equation. Or I can solve this one. X cubed equals negative 1. I can take the cube root of both sides. Cube root of x cubed is x. And the cube root of negative 1 is negative 1. Because negative 1 times negative 1 times negative 1 gives me negative 1. Negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. Positive 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. So the cube of negative 1 makes negative 1, just like the cube of 2 makes 8. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. So I was able to solve this equation by factoring. So what was similar? Remember, in the last video, we had x to the fourth in one term and x to the second in another term. So do you notice a pattern? When one power is twice that of the other, 4 is twice the power of 2, 6 is twice the power of 3. When you have that situation, perhaps you'd want to study that trinomial a bit to see if it was factorable as we did here.